So welcome to another exploration into consciousness with the Earth Nouveau Hub. Welcome everyone. Good to see you. Good to have you back. And our topic today is selflessness. And how can we move from selflessness, or how can we use selflessness as a bridge from the old paradigm into the new paradigm? And we could call that new paradigm SenseMOREness. Not self. What am I talking about? Sense. We're talking about sense. I apologize. SenseLESSness. So I was thinking.
I was like, what?
No. Reprogramming the self, by working on different senses, the senselessness that we are experiencing at the moment. And I'm not saying everyone is experiencing that. So I'm just going to throw in a little example that actually trying to make sense. Yes. Well, I don't think will makes a lot of sense, and that's absolutely fine too, but anyhow, so I was having this experience. What is today? Wednesday. I was on Saturday. Emma was moving out and I was cleaning up her room and everything. And then I was just on my own and I was sitting in the house and I had this overwhelming sense of senselessness. And I sat there and I looked around. I had tears running down my face. I'm thinking, wow, what is this? And obviously, the first go-to is like, you're thinking, oh, this is your daughter is leaving. And I'm thinking, well, it's not the first time that she's left and moved out. And it didn't happen the first time. And I thought, what is going on? I looked around and all of a sudden, I've got lots of bits and pieces around and everything just started to not make any sense to even have it in my house. Almost there was this overwhelm of like, oh, I need to get rid of everything because I felt overwhelmed for that particular moment. And then I started making some food and I'm like, oh, that doesn't make sense either. That kind of thing. I'm like, what is going on? And then I thought, okay, well, let me work with this. So I just sat down again and I looked at everything and I thought, okay, well, let's take the definition of the things that I have, why I have them. Why did I buy them? Why did I not get rid of them? What's with me having all this stuff? The rightness, the wrongness. Let's take out the conceptualization of everything and just look at the energy of it. And as I did that, I started, there was just a soup of colors, and everything just stopped being so dramatic and so deep-seated, sadly perceived and everything just dissipated from all those thought processes that I've had before. And that reminded me of certain stages of the awakening process. Lots of people talk about that place where they get themselves into after they have this euphoria of everything is just love and beautiful, and then all of a sudden they go into this place of nothingness. There's nothing makes sense, there's no meaning to anything. They can't, almost to an extent that they can't even perceive or feel their bodies anymore, that kind of thing. That state of senselessness, that's what we called it for today. And I'm thinking, well, what if that was just another glimpse of what's actually happening with the energies, right? Where the old paradigm is almost being like drawing out everything of the old, that it doesn't make sense anymore. And what if that is actually perfect, so that we can go into the next level of SenseMOREness or sanity. Sanity is a cool energy that came up in this video I was talking to you guys before. It's like senselessness versus sanity, and where is that going to take us? Now, I'd like to have a chat about this today, and not make it significant, you know, just play as we always do, and maybe bring up some of those experiences if you've had them as well, because some people actually they find themselves for weeks and months on end in that space. And there's a lot of misinterpretation of it, because lots of people go into, oh, I'm depressed. And as soon as they conclude that they are depressed, they have to go to the doctors and they have to take medication. And they go down this road. And in reality, what if that is the perfectly aligned process of awakening that we're all going through? And not everyone has to stay there that long, but those glimpses are probably, you know, experienced by all of us. How do you perceive that? Have you had any of these?
I mean, I think I think for me, it's been going on, you know, for such a long time that it's hard to remember, you know, when I was having those, you know, things, those issues. But you know, I've been going through this awakening and ascension process for a long time, and I've definitely had moments of, you know, it's like thinking about it this morning as I was taking a walk, and I remember times where, you know, I was driving in the car or cooking in my kitchen and just having that moment of, who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? What am I doing here? And it just, you know, it flows through very quickly. But I think in the process of letting go of old energy and opening to new, we are going through this sort of like reset process where almost like everything we've known and seen and done has created one sort of foundation, right? But now we're transitioning into this new foundation that isn't set up yet, right? So there's this sort of like gray area in between. And you know, when you step out into that void of space, I think, you know, a lot of different things can happen to your body, your mind, you know, the way that you're perceiving your reality. You know, it's like standing between two different bubbles of reality that nothing is set in. So it's almost like that. You watched Dr. Strange and the Multiverse of Madness the other day. It was on TV when I was cooking, and so, but there's this space that he hides this sacred book, right? And it's the space between dimensions, and it doesn't even. It has just, you know, this construct that Dr. Strange has made to place this book in sort of like this hiding place, and you know, it's this again, that void space that you can create into before we move into the next space. I don't know if that makes sense, but that's some of the things that I was feeling around it.
Yeah.
Tanya, you are saying staying between two bubbles. I perceive even different. It's like previous bubble disappearing, and there is no place where to step to next bubble. You have to create that bubble. This is my feeling, my perception. And since we're so addicted to that, our previous bubble set up of our sanity, how we perceive this world, we kind of like forgot what we can actually make, what that new bubble can be, or even do we need that bubble, how to exist in 360 possibilities, and changing that bubble whenever we go, how each moment unfolding. So this is my perception. Yeah, and it was kind of like pretty big shift in my experience last couple days, maybe around a week. Really, some piece of that old paradigm, old bubble just disappeared. It's just not here anymore. And it's like everything trying to transition to something, and we are trying to find that old paradigm, and it doesn't exist, and it's confusion inside of system who we are. This is my kind like experience of this. And it's only nature that is actually grounding me in these shifts. Only nature, sun, mostly sun. Yeah.
Now, you said a few things here, Irina. You mentioned perception and old paradigm completely gone and new levels of perception. Because what I'm finding is, you know, there is the SenseLESSness. So the senses, the way we have worked with the 5 senses we've worked with, you know, there is an expansion of that happening. And it's almost like there is a different level of perception coming in that we haven't acknowledged yet. So, and this is that territory that is out of our comfort zone because it's so new. And in fact, it has never really happened before. We can't even go back in time or history to find out, you know, even hindsight doesn't help us because, you know, the bodies that we used to have never experienced what we are experiencing now.
Exactly.
Isn't it? And it's like you're really in that void space. It's to give another example, I went for a walk. I thought I needed to go and walk yesterday, and I was all ready to go and got dressed and go and start walking, and I'm happy to walk into the park, and all of a sudden it's like, nah, turn around. I'm like, what? No, we've just come here, right? And it was like, I was starting having this conversation. Is it the body who wants to go back? Is it the soul who wants to go back? Is it the mind who wants to go back? You know, and at the end of the day, I thought, forget all of that. Let me just look. And all of a sudden, there were so many paddles everywhere, water. And I said, fuck it, I'm going back. I get it. And then I came back in, and what I had done, I had sent a text to the hairdresser to give me an appointment. And he said, oh, I couldn't do this week, maybe next week, blah, blah, blah. As soon as I walked through the door, I got his text, hey, I can come in the next hour. Are you at home? And I'm like, okay, now I know what happened. But I couldn't, you know, but now what do we call that? This is a different level of perception, a different level of sense, a different sense that is kicking in. And what can we do with this? Well, we have to trust it. When that stuff comes up, we ask a few questions and then we just have to trust it. And then when we get back and we see, oh, then we have to acknowledge it, right? And I want to throw something up here that came to me, because what if consciousness is actually a set of patterns? What if consciousness is a sense? One of the new senses?
I would say we are consciousness, but how we used from that state of being consciousness to explore previous bubble, now we're just falling apart. And this is what you are saying. We have to step into something new, how differently we can use who we are today to explore all those 360 possibilities that is opening now for us. And to say it's new, it's just very well forgotten thing. We had these experiences before, but for us today, it's kind like old plus all experiences we had with old bubble, making influence to that our previous experience long before we stepped into using our senses just for physical experience. So now
the only thing I would like to add to this is, yes, it is that old space that is opening up those capacities as we are, you know, taking back the layers of programming and conditioning. But there is something in addition that we have never experienced, never. And it's not to be remembered because we've never had the solidity of bodies before, not even in Atlantean times. You know, that kind of solidity that we have now, we've never had. That kind of, you know, a shutting off, even now, if we get back our telepathy and teleportation and all our psychic capacities, we will not have to completely let go of the solidity of our bodies. You know what I mean?
I would see this moment of jumping from only being physical and remembering that we are only physical, jumping into that space when, oh yeah, I remember this, but now in that jump, that is totally new. Yes, I agree with that. And we are in that jump right now.
We are in that jump. And I heard that expression, I think it was, what's her face, who does, I can't remember now, but she used the term resurrection body. And I had never heard that. And I thought that is such a cool expression to use, that we're starting to use our resurrection body without actually having to die, you know, that kind of thing. So that is I like that expression. But yeah, I mean, but does that, would that mean that, you know, we're going through a lot of senselessness? I think that justifies that quite a bit, right? So how can we bring sanity into this? How would you do this? So Irina, you were saying, the other thing you were saying is like, you've had this experience over the weekend. And so how did you deal with that? You said you went into nature.
Nature, only nature. It's holding some reality that is not connected to human senses.
Mm-hmm.
We perceive that reality through nature, through our senses, but it's holding vibration of reality. And we can look and redefine how we perceive those new senses, how to turn on new senses, like you say. Mm-hmm. Something differently in connection to reality, because we have to have some kind of anchor. Otherwise, it's just everything really doesn't make sense and it's insanity. So in my experience, it was, first of all, I wanted to disconnect from any senses. I closed my windows. Mm-hmm. And I was sitting in vibration. I was creating for me just to feel my center, just to return to me, because it was really overwhelming that was coming from outside. It's like everyone was trying to scream louder than everyone else, that kind of sensation. When I got into my space, then I start to breathe through my center, through my reality connection. Then I turn to nature and start to kind like see and use different sensations to connect to reality through nature. This is how I did. It's still not stable. It's still not the same. But at least when I look at sun, I can breathe more rhythmically, you know? It's not overwhelming.
Okay. Thank you for that, Irina. Now, anyone else, how do you guys deal with that kind of senselessness when you perceive it? If anyone wants to share something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I like what Irina said about breathing into the heart center, right? And just reconnecting, right? Reconnecting into your center, because we are our own bubbles of reality, right? And where, like you said, Irina, the voices are very loud. Everybody's screaming at each other, right? And at the world and at the situation or the bubble of reality that they're living in. Right. And so as these bubbles of reality collide, you know, I think think about like the clients that I work with and the energy that I'm drawing in, right? That here's all of these individuals who have been living in this old energetic paradigm who are ready now to transition into creating their own new paradigm. And so, you know, it's almost like I have to hold space for both. I have to hold space for this expanded, this expanded me, right? But at the same time, holding space for those who are just sort of entering into this journey, which is a very different feeling of reality, right? And I think when that entangles, really interesting energy things can happen, right? This sense of timelessness, a sense of magic, a sense of the old illusion breaking down and breaking through. In the 13 moon calendar that I follow, it's the blue magnetic monkey guided by magic today, right? So it's a start of a 13-day cycle, that magnetic tone, that divine feminine tone that pulls the energy in. And so, you know, sitting with that energy and the energy of the magic, the illusion, the playfulness that helps to create movement in the old energy and disillusion in the old energy, to imagine what is our greatest imaginings? How can we, instead of doing the road that's more traveled, how can we step out into the forest where there's not even a road that's less traveled, there's no path at all, right? And I think we as a group, I think, find ourselves there quite often, but it can be a really scary thing for someone who's just embarking on the journey, right? So if I can encourage people to let go of the fear and then just be who they are without reservation, you know, no holds barred, right? Then each of these bubbles of reality, as they open up to this new energy, are building a foundation for the new reality.
Yes, and you said about imagination staying inside of us, and it's a little bit rusty. We kind like used to have some directions and work with what we were given, and now it's like what given from outside, it's not what you want to work with. It's not sustaining, and really you have to turn into that imagination thing, what I can do, who I am. This is good time now to turn and to look at your values, at your desires on a deeper level, not just on a surface, and start to really know yourself. This is a good time now to do that, especially it's spring. You know, spring, it's something new supposed to come, and this new is completely new. We can't even recognize that new. So it's kind of like really insane situation, like you were saying. Yep. Yeah.
I thinking about this topic made me think of this blog that I posted that I just pulled up about Ascension symptoms. And that was posted 10 years ago, April. And a couple of the categories are the memory loss and difficulty accessing words, right? Difficulty remembering what you did or who you talked to that day, or sometimes, you know, an hour or a minute before. That feeling of disorientation, a loss of identity. You know, there's all of these things that are still happening as we're deconstructing old energy and grounding into new energy.
It's interesting because when I had this my last experience, nature wasn't something I went to. I did the opposite. I looked at everything and looked at the energy of it. I disolidified everything, and that brought me back in, funny enough. As soon as I took out the conceptualization of all the bits and why they were there, took out the meaning, And when I just started perceiving the colors, that made me feel completely content again. And it just totally grounded me in, because I see myself. I personally don't use nature as a grounding tool, because I am nature. So the responsibility for me is I am the grounding tool. So what do I need to do to become that grounding tool? And for me, it's always, I need to expand out. Because what I obviously did at the time, I went too small. And as soon as I get too small, my soul says, I can't breathe. And then it comes, all weird shit comes out until I expand myself back out again. Almost to the extent that I have to practice to be nonsensical, to allow myself to bring the trickster back out, to have some fun with it, to say things that don't make any sense. And that's interesting. Again, if I briefly remember what Alan Watts said in this video, and I will put the link to it on it. He said, if you listen to the birds, you don't understand what they're saying, because there's nothing to understand. It's a completely different, they are projecting sanity into a world that is completely senseless. And I thought, I love that, because it just turns everything upside down, right? It says, say things. I think this is why we always reframe every single energy and look at the opposite of everything, because this is really everything that we have been working with doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense for a reason, because literally it is senseless. And he also talks about, people having conversations over Zooms, just like us. And it says, if you don't speak with an agenda, and you just share because you're having fun. And there is no like, oh, you have to bring certain things across, or you have to come across as the professional or the expert. That's when you step into that place of sanity, where people can feel you. It doesn't matter what you say, and if you make a mistake, grammar or not, And I thought that really made me feel alive when I listened to this, because I'm thinking, yeah, this is that space of out of the comfort zone, because we are so indoctrinated. We have to use the right word, and it has to sound expertise wise and all that crap, But no, what if we can just turn it all around and just be ridiculous? Like we said last time,
Oh,
Yeah.
what a finish. Go ahead, Sandrine.
Oh, no, I was also, as much as I love nature, and due to the fact that I don't have my dogs anymore to walk around in nature, and also I'm in a place where there is no real nature, not a lot actually. I found, and just listening to all the conversation now, I found that actually my grounding comes, and it's the yoga mat, every morning. It's where I'm grounding. And especially when I'm having these moments and being a person that every 2 or 4 years needs to move and pack up things again, I got rid of a lot of things. But I also know that some bits and pieces, I need to bring them. And sometimes it's something utterly ridiculous where there is no sense at all. I have here a pink flamingo that is made out of sugar that I'm running around with, that's already full with flies, little black dots on them, but I cannot bring myself to throw it away. Don't ask me why. I have no idea. It's just something there that I need to look at that thing. It's like, okay, you still want to be here. Okay, good. Why? I have no idea. So okay, I leave it there. It's makes no sense, but okay, fine. So, and then on my mat, to actually regain again some grounding, it's either I'm doing breath work, or I'm grounding with some movements, or I'm challenging myself with something new. The other day I was sitting here and I was like, I want to know how to play the piano. I want to teach myself how to play the piano. Where it's coming from, I have no idea. Still being in the corporate world, just like you said now, the moment that I started losing myself, this, you know, you need to be that manager and you need to use these words. And I'm like, I'm not that person. I don't speak like that. So why am I actually using that? Why do I want to frame myself again into something that I don't want to be? So I'm stepping out of the frame all the time. And now I'm being asked to, I'm frozen. Okay. No, I'm actually being asked to be part of the human resource delegation for the stuff, you know, because I'm like, yeah, you're the only one who always says what she thinks, you know, in a way. And I'm like, okay, good. Something is coming out of it, you know. So it's very interesting. And I also felt the last couple of weeks a shift, just like Irina was like, there is a shift happening also. Like I'm even losing more of not the self, but these, you know, this whatever it is. And it makes no sense, but it makes a lot of sense for me. And now that you talked about consciousness maybe being a sense, maybe it's not the right definition for it, but I think I'm getting where you're pointing at it, because I also feel like that's an interesting way to go through with it. So yeah, everything is resonating and it's very interesting.
So somebody said, I think it was Geoffrey Hopper, I was listening to the other day, and he said consciousness is not energy. And immediately I'm like, yes, I never thought of that. Consciousness has no force behind it. And I thought, I think that makes sense. Consciousness is pattern recognition, different levels of pattern recognition. But if you look at it, I've always looked, consciousness is energy. But now I'm like, that makes sense. There's energy, there's consciousness. Consciousness defines energy for us through different
in our logic perception of life, we kind like connected consciousness and logic, but it's not that. It's totally not that. Consciousness, it's like you said, it's a state. It's no definition saying, it's just knowing or whatever being. But in our experience of being humans, we so developed our logical brain and our logic, and now we are going away from that. Like you are saying, we are changing our senses, how we perceive reality, how we perceive world around us, how we perceive us, who we are.
Yeah, interesting. Karen, you wanted to say something for some time. Sorry about that.
That's okay. So, hello, hola a todos, ¿cómo están?
Hola.
And Irina, nice to meet you. Nice to see you. I feel I know you already also through the other recordings. Yes, what I wanted to share is that in my case, every single day I am in these bubbles of reality with the 4D, because it's been a while that I have happened to have so many simultaneously dreams. And then if I wake up, I really have to know, like find out where I am, right? And also a bit cling in the capacity of going back to the lucid dream and shift it or change it, you know? So sometimes I get a bit hooked of it. So on purpose, I sleep a bit more, let's say, because I wanna do or live. And then I have to realize that this is the life supposed to be in the flesh. I'm not there. And because we can be, you know, into many spaces. And what is funny is that there have been a lot of shifts, I think, from probably most of us, like the regular dreams that you will associate your day as a summary and maybe get answers or messages. But there was a point in which, for example, I would just happen to dream with dead people that not necessarily were my relatives, even famous people that then I will find, oh, I didn't know that they had passed away. No, even thinking about them. I didn't even follow them, you know, at all. Just, oh my God. And he appeared in my dream just out of the blue. Then there are other times in which there's a mixture of all my scanning of life. Situations that I thought that they were close already, then I never think of that. And then, oh, I remember this when I was 7 or 6, no? So literally, and in this space I can say it, sometimes I think if I'm already dead, if I'm living the dream here, and it is when I'm alive there, because I'm figuring out, and these shifts in which I really have to realize, I say, okay, no, that is it, that is another space. And for when we know that we are supposed to leave this 4D in a transition very quickly, because we are going to go into the 5th, there's nowhere to go. I know it's a consciousness, feeling or leaving it to the 6th as well. Then I wondered this thought that for a little while it resonated me. I don't know if I said it last time, that in theory, the 4D is this shadow, is like, actually it is the life and we are living the shadow, which crushed me a little and also gave me really good feeling, because I thought, oh, for this being the reflected reality is not bad. You know what I mean? If that is the space of reality, because I've never heard that. It's like most of the time it's not. You know what I mean? I think we understand what I'm saying. But it was very interesting to know that actually that is it. And we're just living the shadow. So whatever we can work in that space can also be reflected here. But I think it's a reflection of all the realms and the dimensions, That is what I can say in between my bubbles of realities. And from what we have talked in our first talk where I attended about animals, that is what led me really resign to absolutely the everything for looking after my dogs, into this naked body and not having anything at all and not to expect anything. Yes, of course, I took a lot of skins and labels, or identities, and which has been very interesting because I come from art. And in art, actually, is the encouragement of still having this inner child the whole time, of being ridiculous, of being the whole time, creating from whatever that you see in the streets, like even from the not welcoming spaces, twisted it and making art, But then when you go far away and you go into this space, it's funny because my father will tell me that I used to live all my lifetime like in a bubble of reality. My place, my stuff, my performances. You don't live in the 3D. You don't live in this life. You are in your characters and all that. And then when you have to face it in a way, even though I didn't feel myself out, it's like this, how can I say, the Wizard of Oz, or I don't know, Alicia en el País de las Maravillas, Alice in Wonderland, in which everything is colorful and then suddenly becomes another color. But it's the same place. It's only the vision. It's only how you were seeing that tree or that space. That nothing changed. It's simply your capacity of looking at it, And that is when it is very fragile, because you can think, am I getting depressed, or what is it? Is it me that I'm, not finding the color into the color? But it's simply, I think, because we're getting in these adjustments, and we really need to understand in our bodies what is going on. So that is my understanding of not taking any pills or anything. I don't take absolutely anything at all. If I have a headache, I deal with it my 3 days. And even if I have to take it, probably I'll take it, but I haven't. So yeah, so just going in through the dead moments, because we are in these spaces. And yes, if you tell to somebody, they can tell you if you're loca, What I can tell sometimes is if I start to lose my memory so much of many other things that I'm remembering my dreams, but not in my real life, that I wonder even sometimes if I have ever been a walking, you know what I mean? I say, it's like, is it me or somebody walking and only they downloaded my memories of Karen just not to freak out my family or myself? And to, sometimes I'm thinking about that, because everything that made sense before doesn't. Nothing, not even art, absolutely nothing. You tell me if I transcend, I say, I've lived, I've been in joy, I've done it all. When they ask me, what's your dream? To live the present time, that's it. And people might tell you like something is wrong, how you cannot achieve things, how do you want things, why don't you wish things? Say, no, like nothing. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it's the day, Tanya, because today in the calendario Mayan from the abuelos is the queme, is the death. Today is the death. So it's the black and the yellow. And then we have the new seed coming, no? After the death comes the phoenix. So just wanted to share that. So into my understanding of many things, yeah, this is how I'm feeling. So for me, it's a great topic indeed. But I don't feel alone because I know it happens to several of us, and we just don't feel daring to say it. No, it depends on what circles. I don't feel afraid, but they just look at me. Who are you?
No, thanks, Karen. And this is why we're doing that, because I think, you know, lots of people out there, you know, who are going through the same sort of or similar sort of experiences, you know, who don't have that kind of exploration or access to that kind of exploration, could misidentify it as loss, as death of some sort, or, you know, and things like that. And it's not that. The energy feels completely different. There's a confusion energy, there's a letting go energy, and that multiple, that letting go can be disconcerting, because it's, I see it myself, it's like everything that I have here, it has to go. It's like a decluttering. I think this is a word, you know, lots of people are quite familiar with, but it happens now faster and faster. You buy something and then after a week, you're done with it. It's almost like the energy changes so quickly now that you just have to. And it's almost like everything is talking to you, let me go, let me go, let me go, because the new energy wants to come in. It's like letting go so that the new stuff is coming in. I think you mentioned something as well, Karen. You said material things. I think we are at the precipice of really letting go of the surplus materialism, you know, all this attachment to material things is dissipating. Do you find that?
Oh, yeah, and I even find it, especially also in the corporate world, where we are even following there the dematerialization and the getting rid of the paper and the justifications and all the auditing and the financial document, and, you know, making it easier also to be more on the move. It's not like to have it digitizing it, but making it easier to work with it, and easier also to be more on the move, and then getting rid of archives. And well, archives are a good thing, but I mean, on this non-essential items that after 5 years have no validity anymore, so it doesn't make sense to actually keep all that. So this talk about dematerialization has been a lot going on for me, also from the work side. For my personal life as well, I'm trying, although I'm going to build a house soon, it's actually just going to be a house, and I'm trying to actually keep it at the minimum level as possible, to the minimalistic use of it as possible, because I really do not want to clutter it again. And then I already for years I tell people, please do not give me anything, please do not give me a present, you know. But this is like the energy, as soon as you say it out there, then 2 months later somebody comes, oh, this is for you, and I'm like, what am I going to do with that now, you know? Like, it's not what I want, you know. The best thing, my mom came to visit me last year. I offered her some handmade soap from here. She came to visit me this year again, and she brought a whole lot of stuff, and she was like, oh yeah, and I also brought back the soap. And I said, why did you bring that soap back? For what? Because I don't have soap? Or why? No, but maybe then we can use it. I said it was for you to use it at your home so that you can have the smell from here, you know, at your place. And no, she brought it back. I'm like, okay, it's coming back.
I love that. That's what mothers do. I give something to my mother. She says, oh, why don't you take it back? I think you need it more. It's like basically saying, fuck off. I don't need this shit. Take it. And you know, it's like that,
ridiculous.
Right?
But that was ridiculous. I was like, hey, okay, why did you bring? And then she came with four tubes of hand cream. And I'm like, okay, what am I doing with 4 tubes of hand cream? Thank you, your mom. It's nice, but you know. Speaking of, she wants to get rid of her stuff, and then it lands here, and then I'm going to move it along, you know.
But you know what, Sandrine, I've done exactly the same. My daughter just moved out, and I said, oh, I think you need this blanket. She said, no, Mom, I think you do. Yeah, take it. I need to get rid of it.
Oh, so,
Well,
so cute.
my family is in Peru, so my mother seems that every time she's somewhere, she takes something, you know, and she puts it in a bag that when she will see me again. But we have seen each other 3 times in 20 years, very brief. So I thought the last time I think I saw her 2014, I guess. Well, it's been 10 years already. Even I lose track of the time. And they said, but how much do you have? Like, even if I open my closet, maybe you have more stuff than I have. And they said, well, you know, the typical to start with socks, underwear, and bras. And I said, Mama, I told you in 2019, I stopped wearing actually bras to start with and underwear. I only use it for when I have my moon, my period, you know. What are you saying? How is that possible? No, remember what your nana granny used to say. So I am telling you, no. So I remember when Sandrine said in one of the calls that if it were because of her, she would go naked, you know, in nature, no. And I wear a bra, for example, whenever I have to go somewhere. I don't know if it's an office or whatever, or if it's the summer, let's say, you know. But yes, also part of letting go. No, I use it as a ritual when I quit my job after 25 years. So I say, no. Well, not in the same place, of course. 25 years, I wouldn't have survived, no. But as a language teacher.
I do that every time I come back home, you know, I'm dressed for work and then I come back home and you cannot even imagine how fast things are just flying, you know. So.
Ladies, don't give all your secrets away, all right? But I think we're talking about changing our habitual patterns, right? So all those old habitual patterns are changing, and you know, for some people there will be no sense in that. There'll be a senselessness in that, and for others will be total sanity to do that, right? So you know, this is another thing, that change of habitual patterns, what we wear, what we eat, who we meet, you know, things we want around us, and stuff like. And we see it now. I see it as well. You know, what are we listening to? What are we actually? What turns us still on? You know, and what actually doesn't.
I was listening to, I have Sirius XM radio, and I was listening to the Elvis channel this morning, and as I was walking, and you know, he just had this really interesting charisma that created a bubble of reality around him and drew people watching him into this frenzy, into this sense of senselessness, where they're just like, oh, oh, like screaming and going crazy. And I mean, personally, I've never understood that, you know, that sort of rock star adoration or movie star adoration where people just go senseless. But I think, you know, looking at the foundation that he created to, you know, to bring rock and roll, right, into the forefront of the energy, right, working from that rhythm and blues, and the you know, the jazz traditions that were grown up in New Orleans, and how he just sort of took information from all of these different quadrants and rhythm and music from all of these different quadrants and rolled it together into something totally new, right? And so I see like parallels of what we're experiencing now in a way, right? Where you know, I've heard you say a number of times, Martina, there's nothing new under the sun. It's just the way that we put things together and express ourselves. And yeah, so just really getting that feeling of creation from taking all these little bits that inspire us and grounding it in and creating that bubble of reality as it ripples forward, you know, in time. And sometimes it snaps back like the rubber band, right? Where you feel like, oh, all of a sudden you've taken 100 steps and now all of a sudden you're snapped back 98, right? So these sensations of, you know, trying to create this new foundation and then getting snapped back, because then then you're creating something totally new from that snapback place. Yeah, I don't know. There's just this like this ebb and flow and groundedness and ungroundedness that I think plays in the whole experience.
You mentioned a few things there along the lines of, does senselessness actually create a sense of freedom?
Yes.
Do we have to go through senselessness? Is that natural progression of this makes sense, and then there's the senselessness, there's the space, there's this void space, and I don't know what to do with this? And what if that space is actually freedom, and we have not really experienced that before? What if that, or we have experienced it, but we haven't really acknowledged it as freedom or peace? What does peace even mean to you? What does peace mean to us?
I love your turn, Martina, to this piece. And if everyone now look at themselves, you may find that you are creating more noise even now to find that sanity in this change. But what if we go to quietness? No sound that has all sounds, and find from that quietness, not from chaos, who we are today, how we can continue our exploration today. Silence. From silence. It seems to me more efficient, actually, to come quicker and closer to new senses, how to perceive these new possibilities around us.
And this is why so many people do turn to meditation. And I'm not a big meditator, and even myself the last 2 days, I just really, since everyone's at the house, I just really feel like I just want to sit. I just want to sit with the quiet, with the peace, with the peacefulness, and not really do anything, think of anything, And lots of people actually who do not necessarily go through the self-development, through the self-mastery, the sovereignty work that this was our route to come through all of this. There are other groups that they come to the same senselessness. They come to the senselessness through meditation, but extensive meditation, like a couple of hours a day for 30-40 days, and they reach the same level of senselessness. Whereas when you do the self-development work and the mastery and the healing work, you get to that senselessness as well. But both groups reach that level because it is a stage of the awakening, and both groups need to get back and integrate back, the meditators and the other ones that have come, because everything just dissipates for both groups, and you can't remain in that space of senselessness. You can't remain, even, Irina, tell me what you think, but you can't even remain in that space. Lana, 1 second. You can't even remain in that space of peace, because does it create? I'm not saying it doesn't, but that's an interesting exploration. Lana, you got your hand up.
I was just thinking, you're talking about the peace, and then the clutter, and then no memory. You forget things. So it got me to thinking just now about what if we are going through a process right now whereby we don't remember things for a reason, right? Just hear me out. What if this is a deliberate process that we're probably experiencing, whereby, you know, sometimes you walk to the kitchen, you know you're about to go do something, but you got there and you don't even know why you're there. What you went there to do, you can't remember. What if this is a form of we're decluttering our mind, right? And so therefore there is no memory of anything. And so by that decluttering of the mind, there is no memory. That is leading us to this peace that Irina just brought in, right? The peace. Our minds are at peace now. Does that make sense, what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah. Absolutely, Alana. Yeah.
So it's shifting from one to the next. And so by not having a memory of something, it's quieting our mind. It's bringing peace into our mind, right? We're not deranged or you know, what Tanya were you saying about people going crazy about rock stars and stuff like that? What was the word you used?
I don't remember.
Yeah, you see, there it is. Exactly. My point.
Well, I mean, it's senselessness, right? But just what, you know, wild and craziness.
Yeah, because this is the senselessness. We're experiencing the senselessness. It's not making sense to us anymore. Because we're wondering, like, why can't we remember what we went into the kitchen for, or the bedroom, or the living room, or outside? You know, we know we went there to look for something or to get something, but we can't remember, right? And we're trying to make sense of it, but we don't seem to be able to make sense of it at all. So what if this is the shift, the in-between shift between the dimensions or the bubble of reality that we are actually stepping into, right? To shift into the next one, we have to declutter from the old in order to get to the new.
This is very interesting, because let me tell you what happened to me on Sunday. I'm part of a breathing group as well, so breath work, and the creator of that on Patreon, he offers a monthly live session. So it's either on a Saturday or on a Sunday at different times, so to allow for all his audience to participate. So he said it will be on Sunday at that and that time, and I jotted it down in my agenda. I even highlighted the email with the link to the Zoom, and I participated, you know, over the course of the last few months, I participated quite a lot in them, and I really enjoyed them, and I really enjoyed his work. Come Sunday, I was doing my thing, I was creating, and then suddenly I stopped and I was like, okay, now I'm going to take a shower. And I came out of the shower, I looked at the watch. It was supposed to be at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and it was 3:15. And I'm like, what am I going to do now? I had completely, utterly forgotten about something that was supposed to, you know, where I was like, I wanted to join because I do like the work and I do like the breath work, but and then suddenly at 3:30, I was like, dang, there was this Zoom meeting, you know, with the breath work. And I had jotted it down, email and everything, and I'm completely out of it, totally out in a different world. I'm like, so maybe it wasn't important after all, you know. That was where it was Sunday, and I was like, okay, it's fine. But now that you're highlighting this, it's like, yeah, interesting, you know. Why would I have completely forgotten about something that actually was something nice for me to do and that I enjoyed doing? So yeah, gone like that.
No, and you know, I'm very happy for you, Sandrine, but if that happens on a Wednesday at 5 o'clock GMT, I will not.
I know. So that you're still lucky that I'm actually, you know, supposed to be at work. I have jotted down in my agenda for my secretary at 4 o'clock in the afternoon on Wednesdays to tell me you have your call.
I'm just kidding.
No.
Now, of course, absolutely, yes. But you know what? That happens also with people. Do you find that? It's like people, it's like, oh my God, I haven't thought about this person for so long. You know, it's just like dissipating, you know? And so all this decluttering goes, you know, far beyond. I mean, I see this with material things. It just, I got rid. I'm thinking, why do I still have this? This is ridiculous. Last week, I loved it. I'm like, what? No, go. That kind of thing. But now, let's look at this. We've got non-identification. We've got peace. We've got SenseLESSness. We've got decluttering. We've got all of that. And then what? Because remember, this is now where it gets interesting. Because this is the time beyond suffering, right? We're moving beyond suffering. We're moving beyond triggers. We're moving into pure creation through free will. So that SenseLESSness is, what if that is the bridge to the next step in the awakening process, or in the manifestation process, into SenseMOREness now? And okay, so what do we actually want to create?
So then you have the sense, right?
Mm-hmm.
Which we were living in the 3D world for thousands upon thousands of years. And then we moved to the point where the bridge you're talking, which is the senselessness, right? With decluttering. And so we're trying to make sense, still make sense of the past and the way we used to live and the memories we used to take for granted that it's always there. And then we go to the supermarket and we have to take a bloody shopping list with us because we can't remember that we only wanted to buy milk, right? Or you count with your fingers like, okay, I want 4 things only. And I got to the supermarket and I got my 4 fingers out. So I got milk, I got eggs, and oh shit, I don't know what the other 2 things are. Right? So you're trying to make sense. So the senselessness is that bridge really, to go over to the other side. So decluttering all of the past, and we're in the middle stages now to cross over to the other side. But this wouldn't make sense to a lot of people either, what we're talking about here, because if they haven't gotten to the point to where the understanding is where we're at, it probably wouldn't make any darn sense to them, right?
Exactly. So this is, you know, this is senselessness, depression, let's call it that. Now there's the bridge. And what's on the other side? So what do we say to the person on this side in depression? Let's go strongly into depression, to tempt, to motivate them, to get them over the bridge. What do we need to create on this side for them to have motivation to walk over that bridge? We don't need to fix them. We don't need to get them out of the depression or anything. We just got to say, look, I'm here. I do this and this and this. What is that?
In my sense, what you are now saying, find their way, their personal way, what is beautiful for them.
Mm-hmm.
And goes through that vibration, start to activate from that depression that is actually no sense life. Yeah, start to create that bridge to connect to something that will be sane for them, meaningful for them. This is my vision. Find something personal, and it will be personal for everyone. What is beautiful for them today? Maybe tomorrow that beauty will be different, but this is, in my understanding, a way how to move from that no sense life, that is depression, to something meaningful for me in this life, even in this chaos.
So this is kind of what we're doing. We're kind of like leaving testimonies and examples. And by doing that in these like recordings, or we're discussing it and we're talking about it, these are like our examples and our testimonies that we are leaving a trail for them to, when they're ready, they can pay attention to and follow that trail or those examples. And that would help them to develop and build their confidence to follow some form of something that is comfortable for them to make that journey over that bridge. That's what I see.
And
You see what you are saying, Lana. I agree with you. That will make sense for them, but a little bit later. For now, what we are actually doing in this group, my vision, we are trying to put into logical words our sensations about today, about moment. But for those people who depressed, they don't need logic. They deny logic. And if they look for something that is actually in their understanding today beautiful, that can bring them to that moment when they will look for these wordings that we are putting in this group out to explain and to come closer to make sense from this life.
Okay, guys, we need to reframe. We need to start again, because we can't talk about them. We need to talk about ourselves, and we're not depressed. So depression. Okay, Sandrine, what do you want to say before I go?
I will actually want to pick up on whatever we are doing and whatever we are putting out should or maybe can help somebody to actually cross over as well, in a sense. But I was already, but where we are on the other side, you know, so what is there for us?
Yes.
And here is, I think, where we and those that are opening up to it are coming to this, and I'm sure I'm not alone. I'm coming to this, that we are all one. You know, this whole concept of the all and the one in relationship with itself, and still there is one and it's all. So this is something that the last few months, and I think there is a shift also for that happening in my senselessness, is that I'm coming to this, you know, to letting go of paradigm, of dogmas and whatever, and shifting really the whole senses to the all. I do not always want to use the word one, because then people think one, but to the all, and that is where, you know, this energy here, and also in this group and in a different group that I'm working in as well, where it's like, it's really interesting to see that coming together and feeling that it is all about the love, which we also have no different concepts of, or different understandings, or no understanding of what it actually is. But do we need it? No, it's then the consciousness as a sense of going for the all, you know, to open up to that.
Yeah, thanks, Sandrine, actually, to guide us to this one, because this is why I thought we need to make a distinction, because we're not talking about depression as such. This is for some people, but we're talking about ourselves here. We're sharing our experiences, right? So when we talk about senselessness, doesn't mean that we go into depression. We're fully, you know, coming through the stages of awakening. We understand the beauty of the heart and the nature and all of that. So the senselessness is just it's almost like the next level of letting go of the identification of the I, the kingdom of I. There is no more, oh, this is just about me. I need to fix myself. I need to do this. We're crossing that bridge over to the kingdom of we, the allness Sandrine just mentioned, but also the being of service. So on the other side is the community, the getting together, the, you know, finding new meaning, finding a new meaningfulness, SenseMOREness through a getting together, a community, and you know, not necessarily even knowing what is my purpose, because that is basically just breathing and being here, but that kind of sharing here, you know, that, you know, because of the peace in it, and there is a peacefulness in this whole thing, you know. And there's not a loss of identity, like lots of people say you have to lose completely your identity. No, you just become so neutrally sacred, neutrally focused, that it's really about the commonality and how can we work together. That, for me, I see this on the other side. There is no boundaries as such. There is sovereignty by all means, but there is almost like an expansion, and it goes below and above. It goes from the graduation timeline. We're going to bring the below timeline and the above timeline in. So we're working multidimensionally and all of that.
I think for me, one of my processes is to cast a bubble of reality into the future, right? And walk right there. So I don't know what that's going to look like, but I do know how I want to feel. And so, for me, my visions are creating the new Garden of Eden on earth, right? Where there's collaboration and there's, love and harmony, and, not that everybody agrees with everything, but there's an energetic respect that we can have for each other, and love and joy and, harmony, that, that we can all just work together. And I mean, there's so many different people and so many different personalities in this world that we can't expect everyone to be on the same page. But that's okay, because I know that in my future bubble of reality, there is harmony and bliss and peace and joy. And I don't know what that's going to look like exactly, but I do know how I want to feel. So as I walk to that bubble of reality and hold that emotional vision in my energy field, right, I become that right now also.
I love what you're saying, because in the other group we were talking about visualizations, and I cannot really work with visualizations because although I'm a very photogenic and a very observant person, but I cannot work with it doesn't work for me. So when you now went into but I know how I want to feel, and that is exactly it. So I know where I know, or I sense that this is where I want to go, because this is going to make me feel that way. And it doesn't really need to be, the big image of, the big puffy house with the cozy sofas inside or something like that. No, it's just the feeling of the coziness that is important. Just to give that example. And yeah, your description of that, it's really making sense. I would just want it to be outside of the Garden of Eden, because the Garden of Eden was just this enclosed space.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's more of a concept.
No,
a
sure.
concept of like being in the innocence, right? Being in
Yeah.
the play and the innocent heart, and like expanding that bubble of reality. Not in an enclosed space that
No.
we know nothing and can't get out of, but the new Garden of Eden, right, is the cultivation of the soul and of joy.
Since you've mentioned this, Sandrine, I want to make another mention of the same video, which I will put into the comments afterwards, with Alan Watts, where he actually says the primary sense is tactile, is feeling, is touching, and all the other senses are a subdivision, or an addition to the feeling side. So, and this is the humanness within us, is that this is the sanity. He says, as long as you can feel it, it's authentic, even if you don't understand it, So, and this is, allowing yourself to, especially in this place where nothing is written, nothing is set in stone, You are the creator of your reality, the co-creator with divinity, with other people, beings, sentience, you know, being in allow yourself to feel. And again, we've talked about this many times. Feeling is not losing yourselves in emotional turmoil, because lots of people say emotions and feeling is the same. It's not. It's not the same at all, because we're coming out of the solar plexus of the astral polarization, you know, and we don't have to be angry. We don't have to be sad. We don't have to do any of that. And you can still feel. In fact, the feeling becomes much richer. It becomes much clearer, much more creative. And I wonder if we can at some stage, you know, really start perceiving the different levels of feeling, that SenseMOREness, because that's what we're after on the other side of the bridge. What senses have we not acknowledged yet? You know, we talk about 5 senses, that's ridiculous. And then 6 sense, we throw everything in it. We need to take that 6 sense and start unpacking it. You know, what is it? Is foresight the sense? Is consciousness, certain patterns of consciousness, is that a sense? What are the new senses?
Well, and I think one of the most important important things is to trust the information that's coming through, right? Like I think about the intuition, our own knowingness, right? That we often doubt so much, right? It's like that first flush of information comes in, and then you're like, oh, why am I thinking that crazy thing? That's a crazy thing to think, right? And so creating the habit pattern of listening to that information coming in, and then when we're listening, then we can start sorting things out. But if we're dismissing, right, or oh, I'm too busy to think about that right now, I've got all this other stuff going on, right? It's like, oh no, just take a breath and take a step back and acknowledge, right, the intuition coming through, and then you can figure out what to do with it later. But instead of saying, oh no, that's wrong, which I think has been a primary point of conditioning within the global narrative that we're moving out of, right? When we can let go of that old programming that, you know, it's so that the unseen is, if it's not in the seen world, it doesn't exist, right? I think as we're moving out of that paradigm and expanding into this new energetic, yeah, then we're paying attention, right? We're listening, and that also creates the magic and the communication, right, from our spirit team, our higher being friends, or our higher self.
So I want to add something. Can I add something to this? Sure. So I was pondering about a month ago or so something, and talking about senses. So we have 5 senses, and then we have a 6th sense. And this is all we seem to have realized, that, you know, we're dealing with the 5 senses and then the 6th sense. So it came to my thoughts as I was pondering this, that when we shift over to the SenseMOREness, as we're talking about today, senses would be infinite. There would be no number assigned to senses. It's infinite amount of senses that how much we can perceive as we grow and experience more and more. It will be so much that we can sense to our capacity in the moment. So it's a infinite amount of senses that we're shifting into. So there is no number anymore, to me, assigned to our senses. Like we have only 5 senses now, you know, and that's what we're stuck with for so long. And then the 6, so many people are trying to achieve the 6th sense, but you know, all that will be thrown out. And once we cross that bridge, and we're on the other side there, in consciousness, everything becomes so infinite to us.
Mm.
And this is where we have to name it to claim it.
Yes.
This is the thing, because it's infinite. You're absolutely right.
Yeah, and if you don't realize that it's infinite, then you can't claim it.
We have to name it. We have to name it in order to claim it. We have
So
to know.
it's interesting that I got that just recently, and today's topic is about senses.
Mm.
Maybe it's supposed to be brought true to be known that on that, you know, that end, it's infinite.
Mm-hmm.
I would just suggest, Martina, and thank you, Lana, for
Yeah.
that. I would just suggest that the reason you came back from your walk is you were telepathically receiving the messages from your hairdresser.
Absolutely.
Maybe not in your conscious knowingness, but you were receiving those brainwaves.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Gotta go.
Absolutely.
On top of that, it's a full moon, so she has to get her hair cut, you know?
And again, we have to name it to claim it. As soon as I
So-
walked in and I got the message, I thought, okay, I get
So
it.
this is signs. These are the signs of you touching that infinite amount of senses,
Mm.
right? You're getting there. We're getting to this infinite senses, right? We just don't know or realize that they're there, but they're already there.
So let's name it. Let's name it. What do we name it? I didn't see it. I didn't smell it. I didn't taste it. I didn't.
Right.
What's the other one? Whatever that is.
But it's there, right?
Yeah, but let's
You
name
experienced it.
Let's name it so that anyone else who watches this can also do it, and just give it a name. Because you see, there we go from sense into senselessness, and now we're starting again. We need new SenseMOREness. We have to start defining it again so that we can start integrating it, and then we can let it go again. So
that's the part of the SenseMOREness, right? That's the part of it. So we have to ask the question, why do we even have to name it if it's infinite, right?
It is his name. It is his name. It's inner knowing.
Inner knowing, yeah. Let's play. Inner knowing, yes. Intuition, yes.
Perception.
Trust, yes. Because I had to trust, because, you know, I could have forced myself. Trusting.
Today I read an adjective which is called prescientious.
Okay.
Like somebody who is pre-science. It was actually on the author Anais Nin, and the one that was explaining it was using that adjective prescientious to her as a poetess and as an author, because she was also talking and using already many concepts that, you know, at her time were very, very, very uncommon to be used. So I found that adjective today very interesting, and this is kind of like, yeah, interesting.
So we've got lots of words, and why do we name it? So that we can now say, for next week, during the next couple of days, we're gonna work on the knowingness. We're gonna work on the intuition. We're gonna work on the whatever you just said, whatever Sandrine said, foresighting. We can call it foresighting.
Connection, you know, because we're weaving, no? So we are threads connection. I have the feeling, because you were answering all of you what I wanted to say, and then you said, is this expansion, no? Like when you know, like in the orgasmon state sometimes, in which but orgasmon, not sexually saying, it's like when you have this awarenessness of the whole, of the belonging, no? So I always feel this immediately threads, like connecting me with the whole, with everything. So that's why the communication comes in and the realization. So for me, it's like, I don't know, like as in your book, you also say sacred connection, no? The sacred connection that we have. And yeah, just before we go forward, I think also for some other beings that are listening, we will also be able to understand the other senses endlessly that are there when we master the ones we have. Because do we really touch? Do we really listen? Do we really taste? this is the thing. And I got into this awareness when I happened to work with the theater called of the senses, El Teatro de los Sentidos, and they just were blindfolded most of the time. And we went into a process working with blind actors. For a week, we had to be blindfolded for more than 12 hours. And you get to really, after a week of training, to really read through your other senses and your hands mainly, to really touch the leaves, you know, that we may have touched leaves, you know, they're scanning, the knob, doorknob, whatever, even if it's whatever, your whole neighborhood. It is just beautiful. And another word comes in, another reality comes in. And it's very interesting, like also in our reality, what we have other realities for the ones that at this time, for any choice, cannot listen, you know, cannot see. And also the beautiful battle that they have among each other, because they say, if I could listen, at least you could see. Oh, but at least you could listen. It's very nice to also see them in this debate. As Tanya was saying, we cannot be on the same page, but very interesting. I think also this, when we are really able to feel. And thank you, Martina, also for bringing it to the space, because yes, we tend to forget that this is the only space now where we can really touch, you know, for real, like touch. So just, yes, not to forget that. I just wanted to add.
No, thank you. And thank you very much. You know, absolutely. We're like, okay, what's in the future? No, you're absolutely right. Let's bring it back to the 5 senses and actually really learn about them, experience them much, much clearer and much more intensively. That's a very, very good point. Very good point.
There's a story that was made into a short film by Wes Anderson called The Wonderful Story of Henry Sugar. And it's Benedict Cumberbatch. It's on Netflix. You guys, you can see it. But he calls himself the man who sees without using his eyes, and ends up reading a story in a library that was a true account of a story that was told to, I don't know. You just have to watch it. But so it's a story of this man who could, a circus guy who could put these things over his face and over his head and read all of these different things. He could walk through and open doors, and you know, he could see cards, and he could know how many fingers you were holding up. And it's a really cute little movie. It's only 40 minutes long, but I, you know, just watched this last week, and I thought this falls in really well with what we're talking about, because these extra senses, right? It's seeing without our eyes. It's seeing with the mind and the heart and the gut, and the way that these parts of us are connected, right? The layers of our aura, and the vibrational patterns that we're receiving that create a set of data for us. So I think that's just a little aside, interesting.
Definitely gonna watch it. Yeah, very, very good point. And I listened to Steiner the other day, and he said, as we're moving into this into the psychic capacities, we're gonna start seeing in the dark. So it's the same sort of thing, right? Like
I'm going to share with you, when you post it on the Facebook page, I'm going to share with you, it's called the International Children's United something, but it is about using actually, so these children are running around with a mindfold, so a blindfold on their eyes, and they are able to read, to play, because they are not using their left brain. They are only using their right brain. So the educators who are actually using this treatment, so the educational system, they are not even using questions, because as soon as you use a question, then it's your left brain who's getting in. So it's more like an encouragement of you know, these senses, the use of a different sense without seeing. And I found it utterly amazing, and it's really interesting. And it's apparently for real. So I'm going to share it later on in the group.
It is real. It's one of my colleagues organized this school in the UK somewhere.
Yeah. Oh, okay, great. Yes, it's in the UK. Yes.
That's exactly. And this is one of practices that we are practicing at workshop that we are teaching. And she quit teaching this workshop, and she just working with kids and opening in them that original pristine vision without eyes. Because it is not, we're using our eyes only for letting in light, and then it's translated by our brain. So she is connecting them to receiving light from universe, from anywhere they want, not just this light. And this is how they see in masks. Yeah. Thank you for that. Yeah, it brings smile to my face.
And also, it reminds me of years ago. I listened to kids reading books, but just putting their hands on the top of the cover, on the cover, and just reading it. So yeah, exactly. That's perfect start to start looking at that. Oh, thanks for all of that. So I'll take all of that and put it underneath the video when I posted all this information. So
well, and that's interesting, Irina. I just keep getting the information. Teach the kids. You're teaching the kids. You're teaching the kids. You're teaching the kids. They're the ones who are grounding these new energy templates.
You're talking about me teaching kids?
No, that's the message I keep getting.
Yeah.
So I think it's interesting that she transitioned from, the work that she was doing to create an academy.
Exactly. She's just using that natural ability for kids when they still connected to everything without kicking on too much of logical brain. Yeah. And she's just using that window of possibilities for kids, connect them, not to forget it, and start to use it in their lives. Yeah. It's a wonderful thing. Yeah.
And in one of the examples, just to throw that in as well, in one of the examples, there was the child's father who's actually very skeptical of what they were doing. So as soon as he was entering into the same room when they were doing their exercises, the child then said, it's starting to get black. I can't see anymore, because there's this skeptical energy coming in, not letting her see anymore. And as soon as he left again, she was like, okay, the light is back. I can see again. So
exactly.
This is, it's just, these wonderful things that we are not, this is SenseMOREness again, but we first have to get rid of our indoctrinated senses, in a sense, to actually connect again to senses that we all are, that are innately ours, but we completely forgot how to use them.
Exactly. And this is what some saying, that world that we knew for so long time, closing in to see it, just to be as possibility for someone maybe wanting to unfold it and experience again. So we are really stepping into totally, completely brand new possibilities of exploring our physical reality. And this is the beauty of this moment. You don't have to go anywhere.
No.
You open new senses to live new life here in this body, in this beautiful vessel.
Mm-hmm. And I think that will also play when actually nowadays any human being is not scared of darkness, like physical darkness. If they say that there is a blackout, how many people won't be able to cope with it? Just being in a total place of darkness. What comes into the feeling afraid? Other memories come. But if everybody could actually see beyond and still be okay, then maybe we have also reached enlightenment, if there is enlightenment to reach. You know what I mean? Totally trust in everything, in all your senses. Just very briefly, I remember this friend of mine, this blind actress that I got very close, one of them, she was a dancer and a rapper, imagine. And she trusts the whole space beautifully. And I remember, because I stayed with her a couple of nights, and then from living with her, she could also read me. And probably my odor or whatever, because she says, you couldn't sleep well or what? What's wrong? And I hadn't said a word or even walked. How do you know? No, because I could feel it. And then she would just make fun of me because I would take her to home, but she knew the route very well. For me, it was new. I was in a new city. I was in Madrid then. And he say like, you don't ground yourself. That was ages ago, not into awakening too much. And she was like, you're not a grounded soul. What do you mean? Because I can feel from, you walk like a duck. No, you walk like clack, 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 clack. You're not really walking properly. And honestly, I'm scared that you can make me fall down. So, you know, and yeah, very, very interesting. For me, I was walking well, no, but he says, no, you're not paying attention, she was saying, to your surrounding. You are into your world, she was saying. So very interesting. Bye bye, Irina.
Hi, Irina. Thanks for your contributions today. I want to actually say something to what Irina said earlier on. And I can't remember what she said now. Oh yeah, she was bringing in experiences, you know, and this is so interesting how the loop is closing, you know, how the circle is, how the Ouroboros is, you know, is coming to a loop. The loop is coming to an end because, you know, humanity is, obviously humans are known for self-referencing, right? Because we can think, we can, you know, go internal and heal ourselves and do all this self-development business. And what's happening now is actually we're coming from the self-referencing, from this internal journey. We're going to come out again. Once the internal journey is sort of completed and we know we can always go back whenever we need to, now it's time to come back out again and to start feeling and to start actually experiencing with more conscious awareness. We've always experienced, but it was more the habitual sort of patterning that just threw us or triggered us into experiential situations. And now we have a choice. And this is the free will, and that's the peace as far as I'm concerned. What does peace mean to me is that I can now much more consciously choose what's actually out there.
Yeah, less reactivity, more choosing how to.
Literally more choosing. I could read this if you wanted to. I asked Trocarius the other day what choice means. Do you want to hear this? What he said?
Sure.
He or she or whatever. Hold on a second, I've got this. What is choice? Choice is the ultimate tool for creation indeed. From a pure potentiality perspective, choice is not a man-made concept. Neither is it limited to a world of duality where separation, decision, and judgment are often misunderstood for choices. Where does choice originate from really? Does it come from the cosmic mind? Who or what is the cosmic mind? You could go down this rabbit hole, and why would you? How does that contribute to your life, choices, creation right now? Just remember, choice is not something you create, but rather something that gets presented to you. You pick and choose choices. What if you never create anything really, and everything just evolves for you to pick and choose? Choice creates beyond your conscious awareness. The magic is to curiously look for choices, be present where and when they present themselves, and then just say yes. Don't even bother with the no choices. Yes, you can keep saying no in the beginning of your journey when you learn to find your feet in this polarized world, but in all honesty, later on, don't pay attention to them as they only lead you astray from your soul's path. Choice is not only a human cognitive ability that allows individuals to make decisions among various options or alternatives. Choices are thought clusters within the stream of universal thoughts. As long as you don't turn them into conclusions, there's an endless supply of options to choose from. Choices exist well beyond the human brain's capacity to perceive, analyze, and evaluate information. Choices are pure energy, data, information, willing to be claimed and set free again. That's what Trocarius has to say to choice. Good.
I'm looking at the spiral behind you, Martina, and it looks like the Shoku Rei, right, from Reiki, the Reiki symbol Shoku Rei.
Mm-hmm.
And from my perspective, when you draw the Shoku Rei counterclockwise like that, it works as a decreational spiral.
Okay.
And when you draw the Shoku Rei the other way clockwise, it works as a creational spiral. So it like the way it's presenting to us, I don't know if you have your video mirrored, so I don't know what the actual piece looks like, but the way it's presenting is that decreational piece,
well
right?
spotted.
That decreation of the old reality.
Well, that would go a lot with what we've been talking about, right? And I think this is that cosmic dance, you know, to continuously create, decreate, uncreate, create, uncreate, create, uncreate. And this is, I think, what Trocarius says with, you know, as soon as you go into conclusion, you create that imprint that keeps echoing through all the different various timelines. And, you know, the more conclusions you create, the more this is going to clutter up your field, especially now where, you know, well, even before, you know, as we are integrating our light bodies, we need to declutter all those echoes from the past and all those, you know, residual imprints that are no longer useful. I was actually, I went for massage the other day, and the lady, she's quirky. Second time I went there, and I had Trocarius in the back of my mind, and he said, tell her. I said, tell her what? Tell her to massage the space between the atoms. I said, oh, for God's sake, I can't say that, you know? And then I thought, okay, well, fuck it, I say it. I said, you know, are you willing to hear a message? I just got a message for you. Are you okay with me telling you? And she said, yeah, sure. I said, can you please massage the space between the atoms? And she said, yeah, okay. And I'm like, hey, that's my girl. Book another session. And you know, the most amazing thing was, because she didn't have a point of view, and that's how she massages, you know, it's, I don't know what kind of method she's really using. I love it. It allowed me, as she was literally massaging the space between the atoms, it allowed me to go through all my residual image bodies, not all of them, but quite a few. There was one mermaid, and I was a harpoon was stuck in my shoulder, because that's why I'm going there, because of the shoulder and stuff, you know. And then there was another one, a samurai, and I was killed with a sword, and all that. All went through those, and I'm thinking, and I'm just lying there, and I was liquid, you know, whilst she was massaging. It really felt like she was massaging the space between the atoms, you know. I thought, how does it get better than that, right? Absolutely amazing. So allow yourself to just say whatever comes out of your mouth at times, or comes into your thoughts, and, you know, you'll be surprised what people can actually perceive, receive, and work with,
or where they are at, actually, because then
yes. And, you know, at the end I said to her, so what did you make? Because we never, you know, throughout the session we didn't discuss it. I said at the end, I said, so what did you make of that comment? And she said, well, you know, you were sent to me for me to step into my power. And I'm like, yeah. And then I paid her. It so happens, you know, but I'm like, okay, just be, even if you have to pay, you know, you are always a contribution. There's always something going on. There's always a co-creation, a mutual co-creation. So let's not get hung up on who is paying, right?
No, I just want to share this for you all today. This little guy has wanted to hang out with me lately.
Love it.
And it's sort of a heart, also a heart of earth.
Amazing.
It's pretty. What kind of a crystal is that?
No.
It's an Andara.
Andara, you see? Oh, wow. Yes. It's an Andara.
So I think that one of the things she's saying is look through me, right? Look through me at other things to change your perception.
Beautiful. They're using a lot of andaras over here. We have the Montserrat, that is the connection with the Agartha Erks in also Argentina, Catalonia, and andaras are always in the anchoring. Very beautiful. Always beautiful.
They find me and talk to me.
Oh.
I wonder if Herminia had anything to share since she's been quiet this whole time. She might be busy, so maybe not in a good place to share anything, but I just wanted to offer her that before we close out.
Yeah, I think she said in our messenger group, she said that she was listening in. She was busy. Indeed.
Yeah, I just had to pop in the charge. I should have just done it myself, right? Because now we are getting to that stage where we can just charge everything with our light, but you know, I'm not there yet. Yeah, well, anyone want to?
So I see you next week. I'm in a meeting.
You're in a meeting.
See you next week.
All right, darling. See you next week then. All right. Do we have any closing words? Anything you guys want to share with? Okay, let's actually do one more thing. SenseMOREness. Let's chunk it up. What does SenseMOREness gonna give you? One word from each of you.
Foundation.
Foundation. And what is foundation gonna give you?
Groundedness into a new way of thinking, feeling, being, believing, seeing.
One word.
Oh.
Groundedness.
Groundedness.
Groundedness. And what is groundedness gonna give you? Anyone?
Openness.
And what is openness gonna give you?
Realization.
And what is realization gonna give you?
Choices.
What's that?
Choices.
Choices. And what are choices gonna give you?
Options.
And what are options gonna give you?
Opportunities.
And what are opportunities gonna give you?
Money.
Experiences.
And what is money experience is gonna give you?
Freedom.
Yeah. And what is freedom gonna give you?
Joy.
Now I'm getting chunked down here. What's going on? What's freedom gonna give you?
Choices.
Peace. And then we're gonna go back.
What's peace gonna give us?
Freedom.
Okay, one more time. What's freedom gonna give us?
Infinity.
Cool. I think we reached a good level of. I'm just gonna throw in probably divine connection, divine source connection, to be co-creators, mutual co-creators. And thank you so much for being exactly that. Thank you for coming on. And the recording's gonna go out. Love you all. I'll see you next week. Okay.
Gracias.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Namaste. Bye.